The Intimidator, the Man in Black, Mr. Restrictor Plate. Everyone in motorsports has heard of Dale Earnhardt, and even if you don't know why he had such nicknames, you will soon. In a sport that appears so simplistic on the outside, it's sometimes hard to see the genius in drivers of NASCAR. And while we could talk about Earnhardt's 76 wins and 7 champion titles, I want to instead focus on key moments that made Earnhardt such a fearsome driver to compete against. These are the top 10 Dale Earnhardt moments.
Look at those switching and swapping of positions out there, David.
Dale Earnhardt began racing full-time in 1979, and right off the bat, the commentators were marking him as the rookie to watch.
I'm looking to see Dale Earnhardt do extremely well in this race. He's done some fantastic jobs this week in other races.
But when the prestigious Daytona 500 came around, they didn't expect him to be running with the lead pack for several laps at a time. In fact, they thought that he might have been a lap down.
Dale's had a fantastic week here, he really has. But as I say, I think he's a lap down, but I'm not sure at the moment.
But not only was he on the lead lap, he then started to lead the race.
In rush hour traffic, take a look at that.
Dale Earnhardt going to the lead.
3 wide.
Taking Bobby Allison with him.
3 wide.
Under Ty Scott.
Baker back in the pits another time. Earnhardt blazes back into the front of this group.
An ill-timed pit stop and broken aerodynamics put him out of contention. But at the end of the day, he led 10 laps and finished 7th. While his win was overshadowed by a last lap crash and fistfight, Earnhardt's rookie debut was more than impressive to those within the sport, and it gave us a hint at Earnhardt's now legendary drafting abilities.
Earnhardt on the inside and Sterling Marlin outside.
And Ernie going with Earnhardt down on the inside. That's going to hit. Oh, he touched trouble.
Terrible crash. Earnhardt's car destroyed.
1996 saw a major downturn for Earnhardt's career, as a massive crash in Talladega broke his collarbone, shoulder, and sternum. It was an injury that wouldn't heal for over 3 years, yet Earnhardt refused assistance and walked to the ambulance under his own power.
Never, never doubt that cliche about Dale Earnhardt. One tough customer gives the thumbs up.
He couldn't keep his injury a secret, having to withdraw from the next race after just 1 lap.
Champ, did the car feel okay to you out there?
Yeah.
Okay, you can see the disappointment on his face. Obviously not very comfortable. The pain in his face as he pulled that stimulator off his shoulder. A very, very uncomfortable and a very unhappy former Winston Cup champion.
But Earnhardt was determined to continue racing competitively, which led to this.
On the speedway, hopping and skipping, but he's out there in the Goodwrench Chevrolet trying to beat Dale Jarrett's time.
He's got a good lap going. I got a checkpoint over here as he comes into turn 11. He's right up there with Ricky Rudd and Dale Jarrett. Let's see if he can do it.
Former 2-time pole sitter.
He did it. He's on the pole.
Unbelievable 73.054 seconds, folks. 120.733.
2 weeks after the crash, a blistering pole position at the 1996 Budweiser at the Glen. Despite Earnhardt's poor physical condition, it stunned the spectators. And from that day forth, NASCAR had a new catchphrase. It hurt so good.
The man in black, Earnhardt, now asserts the Chevrolet, puts it in front, drops to second.
1990 saw Earnhardt's 12th attempt at a Daytona 500 victory. At this point, Earnhardt had multiple top 10 finishes in the race, but he also had many unfortunate occurrences at the track, including a 1986 race that saw him run out of gas with just 3 laps to go.
And Earnhardt is coming in. Absolutely out of gas. Earnhardt is coming in.
Determined to finally win the coveted Harley J. Earl Trophy, Earnhardt's team came into the 1990 event with a competitive car. It seemed luck was on his side when pole sitter Ken Schrader blew his engine, and after leading over 3/4 of the race, the Daytona 500 looked to finally be his.
We saw this lead first being held by this man. Then Schrader came back to take it twice. His car went up in smoke, and it has been an Earnhardt story ever since.
But disaster struck on the last lap.
half a lap to go.
4-car shootout to decide it all. Dale Earnhardt.
Here comes Cope down on the inside.
Whoa.
Earnhardt has problems.
Slopping back. Something is amiss. Here comes the field driving for the finish. And on the outside, it is car number 10, Derek Cope. Something amiss on the Earnhardt car. Coming to the line. It's Labonte pulling up, and an amazing finish. The Whitcomb Racing Team has won it.
With one of the most dramatic conclusions to a Daytona 500, Earnhardt would have to look to another year to win.
Dale, what the heck happened on the last lap?
We run over some debris and cut a right rear tire down, David. Just a quarter of a lap away from victory. Not much you could do about it.
I was sitting with your wife, and it was absolute devastation in your motorhome. We're all real sorry for you. Better luck next time.
Perhaps off 55. Comes into the side of car number 5, Bodine, who slides. Car goes all the way around, and the front end will nail that wall hard.
Earnhardt was often called the Intimidator because he was known to bump and shove other drivers out of his way. Some of his most controversial bump and runs came at Bristol Motor Speedway, particularly in the 1995 Goody's 500. It all began when Earnhardt turned Rusty Wallace with not even a tenth of the race completed.
Who is being Rusty Wallace stands off of turn 4.
Just nudges the wall coming off the corner. So Rusty Wallace is a 5-time winner here at this racetrack, including this event last year. He's won the spring race 4 times.
See him pointing at Dale Earnhardt there?
Yep.
I think they got together as they came off the turn up there.
Oh. We think that there may be a black flag displayed to Dale Earnhardt. We're going to see here. Yes, indeed. The flagman is pointing to Dale with the black bunting, and Earnhardt is going to go to the rear of the line because of his what NASCAR considered more than incidental contact with Rusty Wallace. The fans think that was the right decision by NASCAR.
Well, some of them do, some of them don't. Yeah, that's right. They're divided, but they're letting it be known what their feeling is.
Yet, in less than 100 laps, Earnhardt went from 29th place all the way back to first.
The man is really on a tear. He gets awfully close to Dick Trickle there.
We often are criticized for showing too much of Dale Earnhardt, but when you're passing cars here in Bristol like Dale is, it's the story of the race right now.
There's no doubt about it.
Towards the end of the race, another problem. His car started smoking. He had to come in to fix it, but was soon able to catch up to the leading driver, Terry Labonte. With such a narrow track and just a few laps to go, Earnhardt chose to make a desperate move.
Now let's see, they're down to 4 or 5 car lengths.
And a slow car right, and Earnhardt is right on his back bumper.
Let's see what strategy he pulls. Oh, Labonte is sideways but wins the race, crashes, and he wins anyway. How about that? Whoa!
Labonte didn't seem to mind, probably because he won the race. Rusty Wallace wasn't so pleased, however.
Dale Earnhardt is the leader. He has Terry Labonte in front of him, but Labonte a couple of laps down now.
There are many instances of Earnhardt pushing drivers around in his early years, but it became especially notorious at the 1986 Miller High Life 400. Less than ideal conditions led to an early crash, covering Earnhardt's windshield with mud. When his crew chief denied his request to pit, Earnhardt climbed out of the car and, still driving, began cleaning the windshield on his own. As the race progressed, Earnhardt made plenty of enemies, particularly with Darrell Waltrip and Jeff Bodine.
Sun is out once again. Petty's number 43 back on pit road. But right now, the story's right here. Back into the dirt on the inside.
Earnhardt gets it sideways coming off the second corner. Car 3, Dale Earnhardt, is completely sideways off turn. He wants by. And meanwhile, while all this, Darrell Waltrip almost spins.
He had it sideways. That's all Earnhardt needed. Now he has to deal with one of the Masters Owls. Here comes number 11 back, and he nails it. He put a fender on it. put a bumper on it.
I didn't see what happened up in turn 2, but I know right now what happened. Earnhardt put a little bit of chrome worn on Darrell Walter. Darrell didn't like it. He told Earnhardt he didn't like it by that little tap coming off turn 4.
In the closing laps, Earnhardt found himself in the lead, but being contested by a frustrated Darrell Waltrip. This led to one of the greatest short track battles of all time.
5 laps to go. This time by
Waltrip moves in.
He's running out of time. Darrell Waltrip's running out of time.
If you've been with us all the way through this, remember of 100 laps or so ago when Waltrip was a lap down, he threw a punch and knocked Earnhardt sideways, and then they turned around and did it the other way around. Benny, are they even? One punch apiece, and now they'll settle it on a final lap?
They're even right now. I was thinking about that a moment ago, but they're even right. Darrell tried to get along. They're even right now, Dave. Nobody's got anything coming right now. Oh, they get sideways.
He hit him coming off, and he hit him going in. He used up all of his bumper that time, and I thought that perhaps Earnhardt came off a little early on the gas that time, which is a good way of trying to break the line of the fellow behind you. Here's Waltrip, keeps him straight, but he keeps on tapping. Now Waltrip on the inside. Side by side. Down to the inside.
Oh!
4 cars. There it goes.
There's Bodine into the fence. Joe Ruttman spins around. Who's going to win the race? Where's Kyle Petty?
Earnhardt made the decision to intentionally wreck Waltrip for the win, but damaged his own car too badly in the process. Waltrip refused to talk to reporters after the race, so instead, it was Earnhardt who got the attention of the press.
Who do you feel hit who on that last thing between you and Darrell?
I just racing. I ain't going to, me and Darrell's got to race week to week. There ain't nothing to it.
Okay, obviously not too anxious to talk about it too much more.
Skinner looks like he wants to make a move on his partner up there, Earnhardt.
The 1997 Daytona 500 was another attempt at winning the sport's most prestigious race, but at this point, Earnhardt had seen everything. Since the 1990 race, he had finished second 3 times, and even had a seagull ruin his chances in the 1991 event. Despite being past his prime, and still hurting from his 1996 accident, Earnhardt drove valiantly, putting himself in an enviable position towards the end of his race. He found himself in a 6-car breakaway, drafting amongst the greatest of the sport, and all of a sudden,
here goes the pass. Gordon making a move on the inside of Earnhardt. Oh, Jarrett's loose.
Down the back straightaway. Big trouble. Earnhardt out. Up and over, number 3. And for the 19th time, Lady Luck deals a bad hand.
Once again, Earnhardt was out of contention. Yet he still refused to give up, and drove his destroyed car to his pit lane and demanded that his crew fix it.
What a pile of grit. Earnhardt is in the car. He's barking instructions to the crew. They're trying to tape the left rear fender on. It's barely hanging on. They're taping the hood on. The roll cage has been sandpaper. NASCAR apparently has declared he must have a spoiler, so they're going to now try to get the back deck on the car. There's nothing mechanical holding it on. They're going to have to tape it on. This thing is so beat up. If Earnhardt can make 1 lap or 2, it's an absolute miracle.
With a few miracles and a lot of duct tape, the car somehow became race legal, and while Earnhardt did not win the race, he still managed to finish it for the 11th year in a row.
I got an ambulance, and I looked back at the car, and I said, man, the wheels are still on that thing. I got out of the ambulance and asked the guy inside the car, they was hooking it up. I said, see if they're cranked. And he cranked it up. I said, get out. Give me the car back. So I drove it back.
And the green is out. The Goody's Headache Powder 500 is underway, and Rusty Wallace is going to beat Tony Stewart to the first turn by a whole bunch.
Earnhardt's battle with Terry Labonte in 1995 was a barn burner. But it wasn't the last time the two would duel. Nor would it be the last time it was at Bristol, as they returned for the 1999 Goody's 500. The duel didn't seem as if it would happen, as Labonte looked to be driving away for an easy win. But with 13 laps to go, everything fell apart.
So the 6th place car is in trouble here, smoking badly all the way around the racetrack. Jeremy Mayfield has crashed. And Terry Labonte, the leader, is spinning, and Dale Earnhardt takes the lead. What happened?
Well, if you watched the 12th car, Jeremy Mayfield was sitting against the inside retaining wall. NASCAR threw the caution flag. When they did that, Terry Labonte backed off to the caution, and Darrell Walker just touched him in the back bumper and spun the Kellogg's Chevrolet around.
Oh, man.
Terry Labonte needed the hardest charge he could possibly produce to win, so he sacrificed track position for fresh tires, while Earnhardt stayed out to take the lead. With only 5 laps to go, Labonte would have to pass 4 drivers, including the Intimidator, to get the win. And maybe he should have known better.
Terry Labonte on the inside of Mark Martin, he goes by.
He's got 4 new tires.
Well, Martin had 2 new tires, and Ricky Rudd goes by him. Drops Mark back to the 7th position. And here comes Labonte by Gordon. He's moving.
Man on a mission.
He really is on a mission. And of course, he has those 4 fresh tires, as you say. If he can get by Stewart, which it looks like he will.
Man, oh man, look at Labonte go. He's got second, and they're coming up on 2 laps to go.
This might be deja vu all over again, but in reverse.
And Labonte inside of Earnhardt. He taps him. Going into the 3rd corner, he gets way down on the apron of the track, coming to the white flag. There's a leader change, and Labonte takes the lead.
And meanwhile, Ricky Rudd trying to...
Oh, and Earnhardt spins him out.
Oh, man.
And Tony Stewart is involved in the crash, as is Mark Martin, Sterling Marlin, and several others. Dale Earnhardt takes the checkered flag.
And Jimmy Spencer ran second.
I was going to get back to him and just rattle him. I wasn't going to wreck him, but I got to him and he turned him around. So didn't mean to really turn around, meant to rattle his cage.
Obviously, he said he planned to get up to you, had no intention of taking you out.
He never has any intention of taking anybody out. It just happens that way.
Okay. Well, Terry Labonte had a great run here tonight. Certainly not the finish he was hoping for.
One of NASCAR's most coveted events during Earnhardt's career was the Winston All-Star Race, an invitational with the sport's best drivers competing for a winner-take-all prize. The 1987 running is one of the most memorable because of Earnhardt's pass in the grass. In this race, Earnhardt saw himself in contention to win, alongside Bill Elliott and Jeff Bodine.
Bodine bids for the lead, has it over the line. Elliott, however, is inside. Earnhardt may be pushing Bodine. Bodine going for the lead. Tire smoke. Bodine spinning. And Earnhardt goes into the lead.
It's unclear who caused Bodine to spin, but Earnhardt and Elliott blamed it on each other. And on the restart, both drivers made sure that the other one wouldn't win.
Elliott trying to slide underneath him, and Dale won't buy it.
And if you notice right there, Keith, there was a little bit of paint change hands right there too.
And Earnhardt loses it, goes on the grass, comes back, and Elliott goes inside. And Earnhardt still got the lead. Incredible piece of driving by Earnhardt. Earnhardt went on the grass down the home straight and was still able to hold on to his lead. And now Elliott gives up low and goes high. And he's loose at the turn and has to drop back. He got the wiggling around. Elliott almost went to the wall. And right now it's Terry Labonte with that big engine bidding for the lead alongside Earnhardt. Earnhardt trying to hold him off. Elliott is back in the number 4 position. Earnhardt holding on. Labonte's right there. So
look, Elliott lost it. Elliott almost lost it. He almost lost it coming off 2.
Almost lost it coming off 2. He slowed way down. Everybody goes by Bill Elliott. He may be through for the day.
At the end of the day, Earnhardt won the battle after Elliott's tire went down. But on the cool-down lap, Elliott and Bodine tried to return the favor.
Now look at this.
Kiss there.
Well, that was something else. You know, Bill spun that 95 car out and caused a big mess, and then he come up there and tried to spin me out twice. I didn't take it.
But the thing of it is, Dale spun Jeff out down there. Then he come back. And then whenever he got, I was clearly under him down there in 1 and 2, and I was plumb down on the apron. He cut down on me, and he claimed I went up on him, and I was plumb down on the apron. You know, and he cut down on me. Then we come down the front straightaway, and I was clearly under him right here. And then he cut down on me there and nearly spun himself out. And then he let me on the outside of him down the back straightaway and run me like straight in the wall.
And then I'll be darned if Bill didn't try to knock me out twice. He had me sideways going off of 4-2 over there and then turned me through the tri-oval. And I slipped him up high just to let him know I was mad. And, you know, I didn't try to wreck, didn't run him in the wall or nothing. Then he tried to wreck me after the caution there. I think he's a little upset.
43 of the world's best stock car drivers ready to get it on here at Talladega.
Earnhardt's final victory, the 2000 Winston 500, is certainly one to remember. The cars had been changed prior to this race, creating the style of driving seen today, 2-wide and 3-wide pack racing, with cars mere hundredths of a second apart from each other. It was a style of racing Earnhardt didn't like, but it was a style that catered to his drafting expertise very well. While everybody had trouble keeping the lead, Earnhardt had himself in a good position until he fell back in the closing laps of the race, all the way to 18th. But he kept his cool, and with less than 10 laps to go, he found ways to force other cars into uncomfortable positions, giving him a chance to draft to the front in true Intimidator fashion.
Earnhardt back there, running back for about 15th spot. He was 4 wide, going through 1 and 2 just a moment ago. Guess what? Look, he's still 4 wide. He was on the inside of Rick Bickle, and they're going to the grass. Always, Earnhardt, if you're going to pass him on the inside, it's going to be on the grass, Ned. He's down on the very bottom of the racetrack.
Folks, the last time we had this many different leaders, we saw a first-time winner. Whoa!
He is on the grass. He really was on the grass, folks. And he don't have mud tires. He was,
wow, at 190 miles per hour, he was on the grass in the backstretch. Through a minefield of race cars at 190 miles an hour. And here comes Earnhardt.
How did he get through all these cars? I don't understand how he did that.
The Intimidator is scraped and beaten on the right side, but he will not be denied.
With 2 laps to go, he soared into the lead, passing his teammate Mike Skinner and his son Dale Jr. to show them that the old man was still in his stride.
The no-ball 5 contender, Mr. Restricted Plate, Dale Earnhardt comes down and will take his 10th career victory at Talladega. And there, that big fist off the one that Earnhardt pulls up and says, "Thank you, Kenny Wallace."
To recap, Earnhardt's first big waves in NASCAR were at his debut Daytona 500 in 1979. He was incredible at drafting, a skill required to win at a track like Daytona. And by 1998, he had 70 wins and 7 Winston Cup titles to his credit. But he still failed to win the coveted Daytona 500, whether it was due to last lap passes, last lap blocks, bad pit stops, no more fuel, freak accidents, and the worst luck in the history of the sport. But he received help from Wessa, a Make-A-Wish girl who had given him a penny for good luck. Unbeknownst to Wessa, Earnhardt not only kept the penny on him, but he glued it to the dashboard of his car. For once in his life, Earnhardt was lucky. Not only was his car running perfectly, but the first half of the race ran without any incidents. When the final laps came, Earnhardt was able to hold off the rest of the field.
3 makes in the 500, Chevy, Pontiac, Ford, that's how they run. But Earnhardt has a benefit. There's a slow car up ahead.
And there's trouble coming off of turn 2. Some cars get strangled. It might be this. Whoever gets back to the start-finish line, they'll get the white and the yellow together.
Lake Speed and John Andretti tangle. As the leaders head for turn number 3, Andretti and Spencer got together.
This could be the Daytona 500. Bobby Labonte goes to the outside.
Labonte up high. Earnhardt uses the lap car of Rick Bass as a pick. 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. Dale Earnhardt will come to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500. Finally.
The race ended under caution, but knowing Earnhardt's previous luck, everyone was holding their breath, waiting for him to come across the checkered flag.
Checkered flag. Dale Earnhardt finally
is a champion of the Daytona 500. Look out on pit road. Every man on every crew has come out to the edge of pit lane to congratulate the man who has dominated everything there is to win in this sport, except this race, until today.
It's this legacy of aggression, limit pushing, drafting, adversity, and eventually triumph that made Earnhardt such the iconic racer as he is today.